One of the topics that gets discussed a lot in housing affordability conversations is the idea of how do we make housing more affordable? And one of the things I think that's really important to address when we're thinking about this topic is, well, what do we mean by more affordable, right? Because I think most people, when they think about, hey, we're going to change some things or something new is going to get delivered and it's going to be more affordable, in my mind, that means there was a price before and then that price goes down, right? So that to me is more affordable. And you're also kind of thinking about, well, the price goes down and it's for the same thing, right? So if you change the price and the price goes down on something, but you get half as much, is that more affordable? I mean, maybe if the price goes down by more than half, but if the price goes down 10% and the quantity you get, what you get for that price goes down by 50%, I don't know that many people would say, well, yeah, that's what I meant by more affordable. And so when we think about housing, I think it's very important for us to be clear about what we mean by more affordable. Do we mean relatively? Do we mean that inflation has gone up in that time period by 5% and the cost of housing only went up by 4%, so it's more affordable relative to previous? Do we mean that the price of a unit of housing has gone down regardless of size or quality? Do we mean that a comparable home is a lower price? If it was $400,000 before, now it's $399,000 or less, right? For a comparable home. And if that's what we mean, which I kind of think is what most people are talking about when they're saying more affordable, it's you're getting a comparable product for less, for a lower dollar value. Not relatively, but in absolute terms. If it was 500,000 before, it's 499 or less now. I think it's really important to address the fact that in a market rate system, or at least this is my understanding and thesis around this, in a market rate system, there aren't really any regulations that we can do to change that will result in a comparable home on today being delivered, so a comparable home being delivered in the future that is less expensive on an absolute term than one that's delivered today, right? So if we deliver a house today and it's 500,000, we make some regulatory changes and a very similar house across the street gets built later. I don't think there's any way in a growing market, that's the other caveat here. So, right, you got to assume that if development's happening, that the market is growing, more people are moving into that market. If that's the case, I don't see how any regulatory change can allow for an instance where that comparable home will be less expensive, that the price will go from $500,000 today, and in 3 months it's going to be, the new home is going to be less expensive, so it's $499 or less. I don't see how that's possible, because in a growing market, if you're delivering a new home, even if there's savings in the cost of construction, even if there is lower interest rates, the value of that home was $500,000. So a comparable home should be worth at least that much. And if there is any sort of savings because of regulations or otherwise, when somebody goes out to buy land to build a home on, that investor is going to have to pay more for the land because of the residual value of land. That's how land is valued. There's the land of the finished, or the cost, excuse me, of the finished project. You got to figure out how much you have to invest to get that finished project. And what you're left with is how much you can pay for the land. So there's the hard cost, the soft cost, all on top of the land. So if those costs, if there's savings of any kind in a growing market, that value will get absorbed by the land. So the land will get more expensive. Therefore, the house must be more expensive. So what does this all mean? Well, for starters, that doesn't mean affordable housing is a lost cause. I think there are solutions. I think subsidies could change the game and make housing more affordable. So again, a comparable home, if subsidized, could be sold at a lower price point or rented at a lower price point. Or you can do regulatory changes that allow for the delivery of non-comparable homes, right? So either a smaller home or a different housing type from a single family home to multiple units in a single building that could allow for that price to be lower. Again, it's non-comparable, so it's not a single family home for a single family home, it's a single family home for a condo. It's 2,200 square feet for 800 square feet or 900 or 1,800 square feet. And theoretically, if you can work the numbers correctly, you could get an instance where a existing single family home is replaced by, let's say, an existing single family home that cost $500,000 to buy could be demolished, replaced by 6, 8, 10, 12 homes that sell for less than $500,000. And again, I think there's an important factor there too, is that ratio of replacement number of homes can't be 2 to 1 or 3 to 1. The kind of redevelopment, so net new housing wouldn't happen if the ratio was lower than 4 or 5 to 1. So one of my theories is, well, what if we just allowed for 6 homes to replace a single home? If you allowed for that, the numbers kind of have to work out that that new home is going to be delivered at a lower cost than the existing home. Because again, you bought the house for $500,000. This is a $500,000, $600,000 neighborhood. That's kind of, you're not going to deliver a home that's $2 million. If you build 6 small condos or flats, or if the lot's big enough, townhomes or kind of a cottage court neighborhood on that parcel, the houses by definition are going to be smaller. Yes, they'll be more expensive per square foot, but you could get a family size home to replace, you get 6 of them to replace the one before. So you have 5 net new houses. And I'd be willing to bet that the price point could very easily, in a market rate, no subsidy, could be less than the original $500,000 home. So again, that's kind of the sticky, tricky math around this kind of regulatory environment where we're in, like in Raleigh, where it's a growing market. I don't see a way that you could have a comparable home be delivered at a lower price point. Something has to give. And I think one of the main ways to allow that to happen would be having higher densities, would be allowing for different types of home and housing stock. And that ratio, again, the densification, if you will, has to be substantial enough that the new homes can be lower in price. And the only way that happens is if the ratio of the number of new homes to the original home is at a level of kind of 6 plus, so 6 replacement homes for the original home. If that happens, your cost of land gets divided by 6, and you can build a home that's 3 or 4 times as expensive as that 1/6, and you wind up with something that's less than the original. It's simple, kind of back of the envelope math, but I think it's very possible. So that's my thought for the day on how you can actually get a less expensive home. It's got to be non-comparable, but a less expensive home delivered to the market at market rate without subsidy, and actually address affordability in a growing market. Let me know what you think below. I think this is kind of one of my big ideas. I don't know what everyone thinks about it, but I think it'd be an interesting discussion to have in the comments below.